On the screen there, I move that we call to order the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of December 7th, 2021. May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Second is on
favor?
who?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was that second? Who was that second, please?
There's two of us, actually.
We're gonna go with Susan.
Just a couple of brief notes before we begin. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, dated June 16, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency regarding suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This meeting will be a hybrid. It will be in person and on Zoom. In the event of a technical difficulty that affects the Zoom, the meeting will continue in person. I ask that because we have a very full agenda tonight, everyone be non-repetitive and concise. We need to respect each other's time. And just one further note, the commission will be visiting the subject of how we order the agenda. We will be reviewing whether we're going to make a shift in business items versus hearings, because it's hard to be fair to everyone, but we're going to take a look and see if we can come up with a better strategy. So, that being said, we go on to the business items. First, we have the de minimis activity roll.
Great. Minutes?
Oh, minutes, excuse me. Everyone has had a chance to review the minutes from the November 16th meeting. And does anyone have an additional comment at this time, or addition?
I can read Joe's into the record real
Wanna read
quick.
the
Yeah,
edit?
on page 4, Joe Ring had mentioned on the second to last, third to last bullet that replace language it with, and recommend the homeowner implement the flood mitigation at least eventually. Okay. And then in addition, on the discussion regarding 987 Ocean Street, in the second paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down, add in "and did not cut the trees." So apparently, Mr. Holmesy had said that he did not cut the trees. So we're going to add those two edits in.
Okay. I move that we approve the 11/16/21 minutes as edited. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Bird on that one.
Now we go to de minimis, and you need to recuse.
See you soon, Bert.
Our first item B1 de minimis is for 59 Summer Street, an Eversource gas installation. This involves the installation of a gas connection from the road to the house within existing lawn in the 50 to 100 foot setback to a bordering vegetative wetland. Special conditions are obtain all pertinent permits to prior to starting the work. I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for the installation of an Eversource gas connection at 59 Summer Street. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
It's Joe.
Want me to get Bert?
Yeah, we need,
Come back.
He's coming.
okay. Next up is 1 Elm Street, damaged tree removal and storm cleanup. In the late October storm, trees were downed, uprooted, and damaged in the existing yard at this property, which is within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. John Zimmer was hired by the applicant to delineate the wetland, a de minimis request for the removal of the downed, damaged trees only. An RDA is forthcoming for the removal of the roots and stabilization of the yard. Special conditions obtain all pertinent permits prior to starting the work. I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for removal of downed, damaged trees in the buffer zone to a BVI at 1 Elm Street. May I have a second?
Second?
Bert.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ocean Bluff, Ocean Street, 486 55 to 556 Marshfield DPW test holes for soil sampling. The DPW is requesting permission to conduct test pits to determine soil type along the toe of the revetment along Ocean Street between Massasoit and Shepherd Ave. The test holes will be dug with a small excavator approximately 4 feet deep. The town consultant will be collecting samples for analysis. Rod Procaccino, town engineer, advised the DPW is advancing 4 to 6 test holes at this time at or near low tide. This work is part of the design and engineering effort to repair the revetment at Ocean Bluff, a project recently funded through a state grant with time constraints. There is a regional revetment wall, notice of intent pending, and this information will be used to complete it. Boring activity will commence at approximately noon, December 1st. Additional holes may be required at a later date during minus tides to access areas currently inaccessible. Special conditions: fill the holes with the tailings from the boring holes, ensure that best management practices include spill prevention procedures are followed, and provide an access plan showing the ingress and egress location. I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for experimental test borings at Ocean Bluff Coastal Beach between 486 and 556 Ocean Street with special conditions. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes the de minimis activities. Business item B2, Webster's Wilderness, construction of a new handrail and foot passage on the Yellow Trail. And we have someone from the Rail and Trail Recreation Trail Committee here.
Ned Banks is present.
Ned?
Yes.
Good evening, Ned.
Thank you.
Hi, Ned.
Thanks for hearing us. I'll use that instead of that. Makes it easier. So I am the vice chairman of the Recreation Trail Committee, also the coordinator for our very successful Trail Ambassador Program, group of adults that go out and cut and clear trails. The Webster's Wilderness we're looking at, and the Yellow Trail. If you go from the red to the yellow, there's a stone wall that you bypass, that you cross over to continue on the trail. When we had a cleanup there a couple of weeks ago, it was very difficult for younger as well as older volunteers to make it over that area. A couple of rocks are loose. Folks commented it'd be nice to have a handrail there to assist it to traverse over that stone wall. Last weekend, Keith Rice, who's another member of the Trails Committee and a master carpenter, he and I went out to scout the area. We took some pictures and we took some pictures that will show, someone will bring it up.
I got you.
Scroll
Eric
down.
will bring it up. Shows where the existing stone wall is, and we have pictures on either side. And what we're looking to do is to create a railing on one side of that area, use native material that's there so we blend in. We have, in a couple more pictures, there are a lot of dead standing cedar trees that would just love to be part of a railing system. The proposal would be to cut and install 3 feet down, 2 posts, a railing probably 6 to 8 feet long. It would extend a foot on either side of the post, and to help people get over. And then there's probably a half dozen stones that would move and adjust to fine tune them, so it'd be a solid foundation. Right now it's kind of slippery and wobbly, and it's we don't want it to be an attractive nuisance any more than it needs to be. So we'd look to do that. The stone wall, you'd never know it was rocks were adjusted. The railing should blend in. That would be our first choice. Second choice would be pressure treated. The first choice, we don't incur any expenses. Keith will be out there volunteering his time. We'll have 3 or 4 volunteers out there, a couple hours. Keith estimates, and then it would be finished. So we're looking for a go-ahead so we could plan this to happen sometime when it's warm again, which could be this weekend or next weekend, or the way it's going. So that's what we're looking for right now. Any questions, we'd be glad to take them.
Can I just throw one thing? It's in the buffer zone to a wetland, but that's exempt under Chapter 505. So it's his new, so we brought it before the commission because you've asked for new items to come before the commission.
I'm very familiar with that area. I know exactly where it is. I think it's a good idea. Appreciate the work, Ned.
Any other comments from the,
After you get done, I'm going to check it out.
Awesome. It's a great trail, and it's even better now that the party areas have been,
Obliterated.
yeah, it's a pretty spot.
Yeah.
all right. It seems to me that we can just acknowledge that this is a good project. And I personally don't feel that this needs a permit, but if anybody disagrees with that, in that case, I move that we vote to acknowledge that this is a wonderful project. We have great volunteers working with your committee,
Yep.
and a very beneficial thing. So may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we will make sure that we coordinate with Bill when we're going out there, when the project's completed, send some pictures, and let you know how that works out.
Great.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you, Ned.
Thank
Thank you for your record.
Okay, item B3, Building Commissioner Generator Platform Design Request for Conservation Commission Review and Adoption.
Craig. Art's going to recuse on this one.
Okay. Is Mr. Stewart on?
Does not look like he's here.
Okay.
We can run with it, but I could try calling him, but we can run with it. We've all talked about this, I think.
Yeah, I think it's very straightforward.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I think maybe highlighting, because we actually had somebody call today. This design actually could liberate one company who said they had like 10 of these lined up. And I said, look, wait till tomorrow. The commission's looking at this. It's going to use diamond piers. A whole bunch of us have looked at it. The commission needs to determine if it's applicable. And if we can get it to roll into the ancillary grid that we put together before, decision-making grid, it's done. We don't need to come back to you in
Okay.
the future.
So Andrew Stewart, our building commissioner, has prepared a design for a generator platform to be used in various flood zones. This would be pre-approved as a de minimis activity. It will assist in streamlining the permitting process for these structures and will also ensure their structural integrity. This will be added to our ancillary structures in flood zones policy, which we approved on September 21st, 2021. So I move that we vote to approve the use of the generator platform design prepared by the building commissioner as a de minimis activity to be added to our approved ancillary structures in flood zone table.
Awesome.
May I have a second?
Second?
Joe,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
that's going to really help out. Thank you, commissioners.
Let's get Art back in here.
We got to get Art back.
Okay, item B4 is a discussion of enforcement order and order of conditions standardization. And I am going to ask that we table this. I know you guys have put a lot of work into it, but given the length of the agenda tonight and the fact that you are still working, I believe, on the enforcement order,
No, the complex ones. We can get that by the next time. That's fine. We can do that.
is that okay?
Yeah, it'll work.
Just, I think.
We're just going to
in the
follow.
interests
What
of
we'll do
time.
is, from our perspective, we'll use this,
Yeah,
and then we'll get it ratified next time.
and I think I would also like the commissioners to have more time.
Sure.
Because this is pretty detailed,
Sure.
and we didn't have a lot of time to.
Just for
really-
the commissioners to know, you see this every time we present it, okay? So you've seen it many times, and we'll do it next time.
Good, thank you. Okay. Item B5, Marshfield Agricultural Commission, Mounts Meadow Bat Box Construction. And I believe we have a representative here.
Did everybody get the write-up for that? If they didn't, I have them.
Yep, no, I
Okay,
I
y'all
got
got
it.
them? Okay. You got it, Annie.
Okay, my name is Annie Massett. I'm a member of the Agricultural Commission and also the co-manager of the Mounts Meadows Community Garden. And we're interested in putting up some bat houses at Mounts Meadows. And so, yeah, so we're particular bat house. Why would we want bat houses? It's one thing is that it's an ideal habitat for bats. It provides an alternative roosting habitat for bats. It can provide a safe environment for them to habitat and produce. It also protects the environments from pest insects like mosquitoes, moths, and beetles. It also helps gives bats a safe home to habitat because they've lost the habitat due to habitat loss and degradation. And it's important for bats to have clean homes due to to prevent the white nose syndrome from happening, which is a virus that has affected bats in caves and have just about made bats in Massachusetts extinct. So those are the reasons why we'd like to have the bat houses close to the garden and to the agricultural use of habitat that will be actually used for agriculture. So here's the community garden here. If you have a piece of paper, you can see it right here. And to the left of the community garden is an open field that we just, every year we actually cut the field. That's basically all we do. We let it stay the way it is. But we would like to propose to have no more than 4 bat houses along the edge of the community garden. So Mass Audubon Society is having a bat workshop, how to make a bat house. They're really specific. Bat houses need to be specific. Bats need a place that is narrow, warm, has to have rough edges, it has to have ventilation, and it has to be protected from predators. So, it can be done. People do it. They put up, you put posts up, and you put in the bat houses, and you hope that the female bats will roost in the spring, and then come back the following year. So bats do hibernate during the winter. They look for dry, cool places, usually caves and mines. They're impregnated by the male in the fall, and the sperm stays in the uterus until the spring, where the gestation starts. It's a very short gestation, so usually about 50 days. Once the baby bat is, born, it actually latches onto the bat's nipple, which is under the armpit, and actually nurses. So it's a mammal. It's very unusual. It does fly, and then the bat will bring the baby out and during the night and look for, because that's when they fly at night to look for insects and pests. So they're very specific and particular. They've lost their habitat. They usually will try to find roost in trees, in between the barks of trees, but they're having difficulty finding places to roost.
Thank you.
that-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think what's in front of us is whether this needs a conservation permit or, again, as in the trail, we just acknowledge that this is a positive for wildlife habitat in a community garden that is already in existence. Anybody want to chime in?
I think it's great.
Yeah. And I think then I would like to move that we approve the addition of bat houses at Mounce's Meadow Community Garden, and not require the submittal of a conservation permit. Just say thank you for the civic
Thank you.
support and your volunteerism, and it's going to be good for the interests of the wildlife and the town.
Yes.
So, may I have a
Thank you.
second?
Second.
All
Joe,
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
you were approved, Danny. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you very much,
Well done,
everyone.
well done.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get another new one in this conservation, so we brought it before you.
Thank you. Business item 6, escalation letter at 180 Atwell Circle. Do you want to?
I'll just go fast.
Speak to this?
Yeah, years back, I had to do a site visit on a Fiedler project at 188 Atwell. I saw the neighboring lot at some downed trees. I spoke to the neighbors, and we had a housekeeping matter here. We came up with an escalation letter, and, you know, since I've been working with Craig, we're trying to clean that up. So this was a letter that went out today, and it was adopted by the commission before. Okay, so Chad Haitzma was a previous commissioner who thought this one up, and the commission approved it. So it's out the door. They'll call me back. We'll have a conversation, and hopefully this will end.
I hope so. Okay. Thank you, Bill. B7, enforcement order restoration plan at 53 Kent Avenue. Hello, Brad.
Good evening, members of the commission.
So,
I believe Bob Braid is in the audience as well.
Hey, Mr.
good
Ray.
evening. Okay. So we have your plan here. And we have a couple of things that we would like to clarify. We would like the exact amount of the trees that were cut. We would like to explore the possibility of a 2-for-1 replacement, and for that, we would need the count. I think, I don't see conservation markers on here. Can you point them out if I'm missing them?
We haven't proposed conservation markers. We can certainly add that. We can
Okay.
certainly identify the trees and work with the commission towards a number of trees. If you've been able to see the site, and if you have the aerial image available, you'll see that what we've done is we've designated an area that's actually larger than what was cut out on site. What was cut was red cedar saplings that are basically a monoculture, very densely grown together. So what we're proposing is a better coastal habitat plan that uses same species of cedars, but also proposing native coastal shrubs and herbaceous grasses. If you look at that image, what we've done is we've taken, I'm sorry, if you could go back to the existing conditions plan, just one sheet up, if you can. If you look at that image, what we've done is we've taken a drone shot of the cutting area and overlaid the resource area lines of the coastal dune offsite so that you can see the blue hatch line or dash line showing the buffer zones. So what in that image, if you zoom in a little bit, you can kind of see the area closest to the house is green, which was basically mowed grass, and the area further towards the east or the dune system was the area that was cut. Most of that area is all cedar. It's probably 3 to 5 feet in height, cedar saplings. So what we're doing is we've outlined that area in red, what we're proposing to restore, which is a little bit greater than what was cut, and come up with a plan that would be better to the environment as far as adding shrubs and herbaceous grasses and also replacing the cedars. You go to the page below, you can see the planting scheme. Certainly willing and able to, you know, continue discussions with the commission and maybe meet on site and kind of go over what we're looking at and maybe make some modifications. And if you'd like to add some conservation posts and some other items, we can do that. But my intent was to present this to the commission. I know this is the first time we've been able to discuss it, kind of go over the layout and the intent of the improvements by adding the other vegetative layers to this site. So
Can you clarify for me where the expanded area of planting is beyond what was cut?
yes, so basically the area that's shaded for planting closer to the house. If you go to the image again above, you'll see that the area, and if you've been out to the site, what was cut was mainly against the existing cedar vegetation that's there. You see in that image, you can kind of see the brown ground, and then you can kind of see the mowed lawn closer to the house.
Okay,
What we're proposing is to revegetate a whole area, which is greater in size than what was cut out there. So
so you plan to revegetate what had been that strip of lawn in front of the retaining
yes,
wall?
correct.
More or less, okay. Okay. Comments from commissioners?
I think we still need the count on
Yeah,
what was
no
cut.
doubt.
We need the
and
count on-
the diameters.
The trees that were cut and their diameters. I think we want to see conservation markers.
Yes.
I believe we want to see up to 5 years of annual monitoring reports. And perhaps meeting at the site would be beneficial.
So Craig, on that one, we have hearing officers now, or enforcement officers now.
Right.
I asked Susan if because she's had experience on the after-fact RDA
Ah.
and the NOI, and she was not, if she's willing, that would be great, because she's got the background. Okay, great. So what I would propose is Brad and Susan, Karen, and Eric and I get out there and meet, and that way the commission's spared another meeting, you know what I mean? So we can drive this a little bit. I already had a quick chat with Brad about the O'Kane model, which he actually produced. And that's what I think the commission wants, and this is not there yet. Like, we haven't talked about soil amendments yet, Brad, and we'll get to that with Susan and Eric in the field, okay? And other things. So I would probably just, in the name of time, push this one off. We can have a meeting, maybe we're back on the 21st, hopefully, and see where we go.
That's good.
Okay,
if we're available, love to meet and show you what we're looking at. That'd be great.
that'd be good, okay. In that case, I move that we vote to table this item until a revised plan and/or additional information is received. Do we want to go on this deadline, Bill, or
Yeah, what do we have here?
we
So,
have 12 noon on January 4th, 2022?
yeah, why don't we stick with that and see what we can pull off. Brad, it's putting you up on the wall unless we have another meeting on the 14th. I'm with you on Diagon with either Rick or Art, so, you know what I mean?
I'm available, whatever works to meet on site, and we'll turn it around. We have time in the sense that we're just getting into the winter and we're not gonna be able to do anything out there. There aren't any stability concerns as far as, earth disturbances, so we do have some time, but I'm available when you're available, but,
I'd say
I'm
like
not
the-
gonna
by the
be putting a shovel in
14th.
the ground anytime soon.
Yeah, by the 14th, and then you can use your model from O'Kane, and it'll really take things faster. So, we good on something like that? Is that good? All right, we'll try for that.
Yeah, we
All
have to
right.
figure it out.
All right.
Okay. Did we do this vote?
No, you're gonna
So-
table it.
Okay, I move that we vote to table this until
21. We can make it.
December 21?
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just in terms of-
Table this item until a revised plan and/or additional information is received by 12 noon on December 21st.
That gives us plenty of time, yeah.
Second.
Okay. Second?
Yep.
Arthur, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Mr. Braid.
Mr. Braid.
Thanks, Susan. We'll see you on the 21st or the 14th.
Okay, item B8, the enforcement order on 46 Preston Terrace for unpermitted fill and coastal bank destabilization. Bill, you are much more
Oh, okay. So,
conversant with this,
yeah.
going back to 2014 when it started.
I'm just going to give some background on it. I have it ready for you to sign, and I just got to process it through. This one has a history going back to 2014. The previous Conservation Administrator, Jay Wennermer, along with a prior building commissioner, were out there in September of 2014. Jay submitted an enforcement order, which I'm holding my hand right here, and with the commission on September 17, 2014, asking for a restoration plan shortly thereafter. And then no restoration plan was ever provided. So they did an after-the-fact submittal for the activities that took place. And basically what happened is there's a coastal bank buffer zone, there's a bit of riverfront, and they've been filled. So our predecessors have this one's been going on a while. And we've been in touch with the neighbor, John O'Leary, who's, complained mightily because he's picked up a lot of flood issues due to this. So it's a violation of storm damage prevention and flood control issues. And we have a fill, an unpermitted fill, an alteration, et cetera. The enforcement order has got the Google Earth pictures going back to 2005, 10, 13, 14, 15, and 10. So it pretty clearly shows you what's going on. But the activity that was the primary here was around 2014. That being said, I've prepared an enforcement order to go out, and it can go out as early as tomorrow if you like, and I have it ready to sign. It basically does a chronology of the previous enforcement order and after the fact they just never took place, they fizzled. And the prior commission in 2016, as I just arrived, basically indicated this will go back to enforcement. So now we're picking it up because you and I, Craig, have been talking to Mr. John O'Leary, the neighbor.
Anybody want to comment or,
No, plan makes sense.
in that case, I move that we vote to direct Mr. Grafton to prepare and issue an enforcement order for Mahaney, 46 Preston Terrace for coastal bank fill and destabilization. May I have a second?
Second?
All in
Rick.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Bill, it's basically the same order that went in 2014, right?
Yeah, it's gonna pick it up because it
We
went
don't,
from, you
know,
got it,
we
you got
don't
it.
really have the background. I think I was the only one
Yeah, you're the one around.
at that time, and I wasn't there
No,
for the
R2,
initial.
that's right, you and R are the only ones. Yeah, exactly right.
But if it's the same enforcement order, it never got resolved, so.
Right,
that-
because it went to after the fact, which never works, and then it came, and they wanted to go back to enforcement, and Mr. O'Leary has revitalized it, and we've been talking to him.
All right, that completes the business item. We have 3 continuations that are scheduled and an additional 2 more. The first 3 are 76 Carolyn Circle, a dock system, SE 422950. The applicant requested a continuation to 12/21/21 in writing on 11/12/21. I move that we vote to continue to 12/21/21 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant. May I have a second?
Second?
Art,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 12 Branch Street, a raise and rebuild, SE 422951. The applicant requested a continuation to January 18th, 2022, in writing on October 28th, 2021. I move that we vote to continue to January 18th, 2022, public meeting as per written request of the applicant. May I have a second?
Second.
And thirdly, 274 Foster Avenue, Elevate Single Family Home, SE 422958. The applicant's representative requested a continuation to the January 18th, 2022 meeting in writing on November 16th, 2021. I move that we vote to continue to January 18th, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
All in
Joe.
favor? Aye.
And this is for both those last two. I don't think we voted on the
Oh,
one.
We didn't vote on the one before.
So
Sorry, I meant to interrupt.
we got it both.
okay.
Is there a
Thank you.
Is there a fourth, Craig?
No,
No, there's three.
there's only three.
Okay.
You got them all.
Okay. And additionally, if anyone is here for 72 Bay Avenue or 62 Marginal, they will also be continued.
Oh, okay, that's,
Yeah.
Craig, what would be Moraine Street?
Moraine Street is not being continued. We're going to hear that.
There's a lot of people here for that, Craig. You were talking earlier about moving things around. That might be the
Oh.
one you want to move to the front. I think Joe's probably got a plan to keep it tight. Some people know that.
Do you want to shift the order and do, everyone good with that?
yep.
All right, we're going to make a change in the agenda, and our first public hearing will be Sealand Corp. Red Gold Farm subdivision at 200 Moraine. And this is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the notice of intent filed by Kevin Sealand, Sealand Corporation, 794 Washington Street, Pembroke, Mass., for the construction of a roadway with underground utilities for the development of 19 single-family homes within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and isolated land subject to flooding at 202 Moraine Street, Marshfield, Mass. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Ring.
Eric, I think that you're the one who's going to help us confirm that all the necessary administrative activities are in place.
I am, and yes, those have been confirmed.
Excellent. This is a rather interesting project, a beautiful piece of property. We have had the opportunity to meet with the applicants, and a number of us have made the effort to go out and take a look at the site. Would you care to give us a hopefully short review of your proposed project?
I'll keep it short, yes. Good afternoon, looks like good evening. My name is Gabriel Padilla. I am a representative of Grady Consulting. We are the engineers working on this project, along with the applicant, Mr. Kevin Sealand, who's here with us today. What we're proposing is 23 lots. I believe the ad said 19, but it's 23 lots. One of them is already developed, which is the one you see to the right, to the left, sorry. We are proposing just single-family homes along buffer zones. We are not altering in any way any wetlands, so we're staying outside of the wetlands. The roadway is it's a 1,700 feet long roadway with a cul-de-sac at the end. We are proposing a system of catch basins and constructed wetlands to mitigate the stormwater controls in the zone. The project itself is in the floodplain, and we recently, last week, the 29th, we met with Mr. Grafton, Mr. Ring, and Mr. Flint. They had some comments, and we're working closely with them in order to get those comments straight away. And therefore, I am just presenting, and we're requesting a continuance till the last meeting on January. So it goes after the meeting that we have with Planning Board, which is the 10th of January. And that's my effort of keeping it short.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the brevity. Eric, do you want to have a couple of comments?
Sure. So I think, like Gabriel said, this is a pretty big project, and we talked about some of the stuff that we considered, that we'd like to see additionally on the plans and on the paperwork. I think the main objective now is to get out in the field to review the wetland line with the wetland scientist who delineated that. My understanding is that he's going to be reaching out to us probably tomorrow to set up a time to get out there, and then Bill, myself, any commissioners, and the applicant's representative can meet in the field to review the wetland line. Just a note from DEP when issuing the file number, they did note that the pond in the back here, Black Mountain Pond, is not called out on USGS, so it could be at the commission's discretion to determine that a perennial stream if they found it to have riverine characteristics, so that's just something else that we'll have to look into as we proceed with this. Aside from that, we just had some comments on administrative notes related to the filing itself. And then also, some technical things about putting the setbacks on the plan so that we can see where the proposed houses are going to lie in relation to the wetland resource areas that are out here, and to make sure that they satisfy the setbacks that we currently have in the 505 regulations for the town. I think that's it from my side.
So just to chime in, yes? Okay. Stormwater, we need to have Rod Procaccino get in touch with you, obviously, check that out. Town council's advised, with all the troubles we've been having on subdivisions, to consider a bond in the past. It was years back, but we've had tons of trouble with subdivisions. This one's going to probably, unless I heard otherwise, maybe you correct me, is the developer going to develop all the lots, or will they be sold one by one? It's just a quick question. It helps out with that topic, because the problem properties have been the ones been selling one by one.
I believe that decision hasn't been made yet.
Okay. Well, it's something to weigh on, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have an answer right now for that,
Okay.
but it'll be something that'll be discussed.
And then the rest of it will come out. There's a lot of public here tonight, and so I don't know if having them speak tonight or at the next meeting is worthwhile, because you're really not getting a lot of information yet unless you've come down and seen the plans on your own, which you're welcome to do. We'll walk you through it. So,
There's potentially some substantive changes that may be made. We don't really know until they revise the plans, and so I'm not sure and don't believe that it is going to be of benefit. While I'd like to hear from everyone and give everyone the appropriate time, at this point it doesn't seem that it's going to be valuable to take a lot of additional comment when we don't really know what we're commenting on. The only other comment that I have is, it certainly is a beautiful piece of property, but it is rather large, and I think it would be worthwhile for us either to go there as a group or individually or small groups. Obviously that we can't go and deliberate, but taking a walk of the site so we know what we're looking at when we're starting to review these rather extensive plans is probably a really good idea.
so just chime in for the public. So, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with Joe. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great idea.
I have a different opinion. If all these people took time out of their day to come down here at night to town hall, wouldn't it benefit the developer and engineering company to get the gist of, what some of the abutters and things and the people in the room are worried about? Not that anything is going to get resolved tonight, but it might be helpful. I mean, I'm certainly willing to sit here
I'm open to
and
hearing
listen.
concerns.
But I may be the only commissioner that has that.
I would just propose, Commissioner Carberry, that you're welcome to come down, or you can also speak if the commission lets you. This is going to be the first of maybe multiple rounds of plans. We don't know. So there'll be what we call design freeze at one point in time, and then the commission will have what they want in front of them, and then they can vote, and it gets closer with time. I would encourage you to watch the agendas that are online, contact the staff, and we'll provide you with the information, and come down if you want. And that would give a little relief on a pretty busy night tonight when we have a large hearing, and then you'll be in a better position to ask your questions.
I agree with Rick that we certainly don't want to shut people out, even though it's very preliminary. I would say, though, if Joe is willing to take public comment, that once it's been said, we don't need to hear it from someone else. Keep it, if your concern is addressed by someone who speaks before you, don't say it again.
If we can do a reasonable hybrid where we can have things that may be beneficial for the applicants, and we can keep it short, I think that would be helpful. I just don't want to waste your time either way, having you comment now when we don't really know what we're commenting about, and having to come back and having a busy agenda. So, is there anybody who would like to make a comment?
I may, I just have a few inquiries. My name is Rich Sullivan. I'm at 246 Lorraine Street, and these are just inquiries. Have there been any variances filed as of this time?
The variances that we had was cover around the piping because they will end up being shallow, and the length of the cul-de-sac. And I believe there are some others, but not. If Eric, we have the waiver list right there, to the right of the development. Says waivers.
Might clarify, that's all planning variances, right?
Yeah, they're planning variances. As far as
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just referring to conservation variances.
Conservation Commission, I don't believe we have, no.
I don't remember any.
No.
Just briefly, with respect to Lot 4, which impacts me, which is probably no great surprise to you, the existing conditions, I don't think there are, at least in the map that I saw, there is no existing conditions for Lot 4.
Lot 4. Yes, that was one of the comments that I had from the commissioner at the meeting that we had last week, and yes, it will be provided.
And one other thing, with respect to the common driveway that goes from, is it a driveway or a road, or is it a subdivision?
It's a driveway, yes.
It's a driveway, common driveway?
Yes.
Are they in detail specifications?
No, not at the moment, no. No.
And those would be provided at some point in time?
I could provide, yeah.
Thank you.
Are there additional comments? Seeing no one here, is there anyone out on Zoom?
Anybody raising their hand or anything?
I don't hear or see anybody raising their hand or asking to make a comment. Not to belabor the point, but I thank you for helping us get through the agenda. Really look forward to hearing from you all.
Yeah, really.
When we have something we can comment on.
Right.
Thank you all very much. So with that, I would like to propose that we continue this hearing until a date, but I did not want to take my attention away and look up the date. Do either of you know the date?
That would be the 18th,
The 18th. So that is
January 2022.
22.
Okay. So just to be loud and clear, this will get continued to January 18, 2022, but it might go further out, so watch the agenda, contact the staff if you want to participate.
So what that means is we could call for it to be on the 18th, but if for some reason they're not prepared, we may not hear it on the 18th, and it would get continued, just to be very clear. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second?
It's Rick.
Rick? All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no one remaining, I say that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the effort of coming down.
You gotta step out. Well, no, I think, I'm sorry.
Doing the next
She-
one.
Yeah, I think at first,
Step out.
Nobody wants to speak.
Susan.
no, for what? Which one?
Does it help you?
Oh, Subian?
Oxen Drive.
Oh, right.
say you're
Okay. I
almost
messed
there,
up
let
because
me
the next one in the order of this thing was you. You're not
Oh.
going.
Not really that
You're staying.
concerned.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to the order on the printed agenda, which is, okay. 21 Oxen Drive, fence, pruning, removal of dead tree, RDA 2136. And this is a continued hearing. The hearing officer is Commissioner Loggy.
Okay. Anyone here to present this project? The audience, on Zoom?
You are muted. There you go.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. So we just want to put up a fence and take down a couple tree branches that are really close to our house. Basically, we're going to stay away from the wetland. We'll be in the out of the buffer zone.
Yes. I was out there. I think it was pretty straightforward. Eric, do you have some comments?
Yeah, so I came out there just as a response to an inquiry about putting up a fence here because there are other wetland resource areas here. Just pulling up a brief depiction of the fence that they are proposing. There is a flood zone that runs through part of the property. There's a pretty steep drop off on the left side of the screen here. And if you look, I'm trying to pull up the delineation from MassGIS. This was what they had on MassGIS, and it looked approximately correct based on what I could see in the field from the wetland plants that were out there. It should also be noted that there's a 40-foot wide conservation easement running around the back and left side of the property. From what I'm seeing, the proposed work stays out of that, but it is something that should be noted. I talked to Greg Guillemond about that easement, and he said the purpose of it was when they were putting in the subdivision just to leave a natural buffer on the back side of it. So I think, you know, individually we're talking about 2 trees that are in the buffer zone and just pruning them, or I guess one dead tree, taking that down, and then pruning trees that are within the buffer zone that are leaning over the house. So that plus the fence, I think on their own might be de minimis activities, but I advise filing an RDA just because it was within the buffer zone and there were several activities going on. But I think overall there's no problem meeting performance standards here. I think we could use similar language in the special conditions that we had at 8 Water Street for their fence, just leaving a gap at the bottom. I think a picket fence shouldn't be too obstructive to wildlife passing through. And aside from that, I don't really have anything else on this one. Also, I guess just stating in the special conditions and maybe issuing a positive 2B, just saying that the wetland lines are not confirmed as part of this delineation, that we're just saying that the work is negative determination.
Okay, I don't have any problems with this. Any commissioners have anything to comment on?
Does the fence have space underneath?
6 inches?
The special conditions include
It's on
6
the-
inches, which
yeah.
is standard.
Yeah, we have 5
Except, yeah.
special conditions, which we'll go through quickly in a second. But, Eric, did you have a 6th that you just mentioned?
No, that was that's the first one that's on the notes there
All right,
about the
fine.
wetlands
All
not
right.
being confirmed as part of this.
Okay, anyone from the audience? Zoom? Hearing none, I'm going to make a motion to vote to issue positive determination number 2B, stating that the wetland boundaries are not confirmed. Number 5 for the bylaw, and a negative determination 3 with special conditions, and Eric has already gone through the special conditions. They'll be written out. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
500.
Thank you so much.
I'll go get it.
Back. Okay, we are on to 8 Water Street. This is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Matthew and Angela Griffith to determine whether the work depicted on the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and whether the area and/or work depicted on the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinances or bylaws of the town of Marshfield at 8 Water Street. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Eric, can we confirm, we have a DEP number, taxes, fees, and fees are all set?
Just an RDA, so taxes are all
Taxes,
set.
fees,
Yeah.
yeah, good, okay, thank you. So again, this is an RDA for adding 3/4 inch stone to an existing driveway and also to continue around to the left of the house and in the rear. The resource areas are coastal dune, barrier beach, and land subject to coastal storm flowage AE 10 and VE high hazard velocity zone 14, and also buffer zone to salt marsh. Do we have anybody here to speak to this, the applicant or anyone else?
Again, Linda at East Water Street, obviously.
Yes.
So it's basically self-explanatory. We'd like to just, we're not gonna remove any material. We'd like to move it around so that the pitch isn't towards our house. Right now, the water just kind of goes into our, so we'd just like to level that out a bit and then 3/4 inch stone. We were proposing to put a skirt on the front of it along the, I guess, A Street, so that the 3/4 inch stone doesn't spill out into the street and make a big mess everywhere else. But that's obviously up to you guys if you don't.
What's the skirt composed of?
Cobblestone.
Cobblestone.
So it'll just
Okay.
be like a 3 foot,
3 rows.
3 rows, and then the rest 3/4 inch stone.
Okay.
So that would be obviously where it is now, the blue lines, and a little further than this one right here. It'll go a little bit further than that, but nothing
Okay.
crazy.
All right, Eric, do you have any comments on this?
Yep, so I went out to the site and met with the homeowner and we talked about this work. Basically, the area, if you can see right here, is already existing gravel, or it looked like it was at one point. There's still some remaining gravel there. I don't think there's any problem with approving that with an RDA. We had the other house on Water Street that inquired about resurfacing their driveway with gravel, and I think we had town council weigh in on that, saying that it seems like it could be approved under a negative determination. The work on the side of the house might be pushing the limits of an RDA a bit. There is sand there at the moment, and if we're talking about regrading, we might need a little more information. But I don't think there's any issue with the proposed surfacing of the 3-inch gravel. And it seems that the cobble apron is not uncommon in these areas either. So that's all I have.
I've also visited the site with Eric last week, and he mentioned that you were going to be filing an NOI for additional work, an additional deck.
Yeah.
So my suggestion, just for me, and I'd like to hear what the rest of the commissioners think, I have no problem either with, it's basically maintenance to resurface that driveway with small cobble. And the skirt, I'm assuming, would be level as well, so you're no changing any grades, correct?
No.
So my concern then with that, because it's a velocity zone, is that what you're proposing on the side and to the rear of the house is moving around sediment and probably grade changes, and because this is coastal dune, personally, I think if you included that, I would like to approve the driveway, and then when you submit an NOI, to deal with the rest of that site so that we can actually see the grade changes. That would be my concern, just because of this particular area, and it being, according to the regulations, it is alteration in coastal dune, and so I can see looking at it that you need to, the water would be directed at your house. So we just need to see what other grade changes would be made to accomplish that and make sure that there's no adverse effects to any surrounding properties. That would be my opinion, and I'd like to take comments from commissioners if anyone else has any opinions.
The only way we're gonna see that is you'd have to do an engineered drawing.
Yeah.
Right.
Within.
It's part of the NOI.
Yeah, it's a little bit more burdensome, but the DEP really is closely scrutinizes what we do in these dune areas, as you can imagine. It's for your own benefit as well. Anybody else? Comments?
I'm with Rick.
People?
Makes sense.
Okay, Eric?
Nothing you guys
I'm
did.
looking at you saying, Eric.
So,
I'm
long
sorry.
story short, at 57 Cove, down the road from you, we got a complaint, probably from a neighbor or something like that, and the DEP came in, and to the commissioner's comments, they basically said a very simple project, which included pervious steps and plantings, was per se significant under 310 CMR 10.28, which is a coastal dune. You're in a dune, they're in a dune, and so we're sorry. It's just that's what happens with the new in this area.
Okay.
So we'll get. They're all gonna try to give you the RDA for the maintenance stuff that's already existing, so that you can get that covered. Hopefully, there'll be no more letters.
So just nothing on that left side?
Yeah, what it is to go with the existing footprint and add to that. More stuff with the deck or additional areas that would be altered would require knowledge of the grading through a surveyed plan, more elaborate. Eric and I can help you with that, but bundle that together so you get everything in one shot. We sort of talked about this at one point. You need to go there now because the commission's saying that. But this particular work, filling the driveway, you're good.
Okay, so we put just nothing on that left side where it says
Right.
portion of lot 60.
Yeah.
Correct.
Until we see the permit and the grade changes.
Second permit different.
The second,
Yeah,
you know, the notice of intent,
Yeah,
which is a little bit more involved.
Okay.
Do we have anybody from the public or on Zoom that needs to make a comment or would like to?
So
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your name, sir?
Matt Griffith.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Good, how are you? So, the deck portion of this might happen in 2 years.
Okay.
Okay? So I understand your concerns for the left side because of the dunes. What if we just decided to put stone on there and not regrade? Could
So
that be an option?
So you'd be hardening, so I don't know if we could do that without an NOI.
If I didn't touch the existing material and I just put a thin coat on, because right now it's just an absolute disaster. It's just
It
weeds.
floods in our, I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I can pull up pictures of
Yeah.
the,
It
from the
floods
site
right
visit.
in front of
Nothing.
our
I
house.
can imagine looking at it. Looks
I'm
like
just,
you
I'm just
probably-
trying to like,
It's just
a
elevated.
thin layer, something that, we park up there when it's the high tides, like the moon tides. We're not doing anything with that area at all. So I can understand if we were to like, take a backhoe and pull all the material out, why you'd be concerned, but what if we just went with a simple proposal, and then if we did decide to move forward with the deck and we wanted to rearrange that, it's just gravel, it's not gonna be it's
The
not gonna be a
pictures from
huge
the
cost for us.
I got them here too, actually.
Because right now, it's very limited space right there, it's just two tiny little spots.
That doesn't, it's not what it looks like right now.
It didn't look like that this week.
It looks close to that, but not that.
It was a very nice property.
It's just,
Way to go here.
It's moving day.
Sorry to surprise you with
That's,
the site
that's
visit
moving
pictures.
day, right?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
You like that one
That
better.
looks a little bit better.
I'm sure you do too.
And this was actually the fence referenced in that last
Yes,
hearing.
that was, yeah.
Yeah, so go back to just the previous one, Art. Sorry, Susan. Okay.
No, please, go ahead.
So,
That.
no, the one after that, the after, the present condition.
This is present
That's the
condition.
back side of the house.
that's the backside.
Oh, I thought,
That was the last time we were here, for a fence.
oh, I thought the one with the new fence was.
No,
No,
this
that
is
was,
the area.
that was a different one, yeah.
Yeah, we're obviously trying to clean it up.
Do we have a shot of the side of the house? That's
Let me see.
where that's where there seems to be a very large
That's
grade.
it, that's right
change.
there.
That,
Yeah, so that was.
The
it.
real
We just
ugly
had-
picture
That's
is
it.
what the space we're talking about.
That was the one I had up before.
Yeah.
So this is basically looking into that area that was shown on the last one. So this is the gravel area now, and then that would be the sanded area here. And that other picture was just a straight shot looking back. Looking back.
So where that ladder is, the water just runs into the foundation?
It's,
Right.
it's
It's
just
downgrading it.
slightly
There's-
downgraded, it's not crazy, I mean, if you were to okay just putting gravel over what's there now, I would be okay with that, I mean, it's not ideal, but I'm not looking to push it the other way into our neighbor's
Just
house at all. It just looks really messy.
If you do regrade it at some point, how do you avoid, I can't really tell with the elevations and things just from the picture, avoid sending the water to your neighbor's house, right?
Well, it does grade upwards, so you could grade it this way a little bit. You can't really tell, maybe from that other one, Eric. It goes up, which is why we want this done, so we could get out of the flood zone when it does flood. Maybe you can tell with that ladder there. It goes up.
yeah, it does.
Where's the back?
Yeah, the lowest, yeah,
See
it's,
it? Yeah, you
it's
can see
going
it there. It goes upwards.
I
so
see,
The
yeah.
grade would come basically down to where my beautiful trash barrels are. So it would come this way as opposed to Joe's house on the left side there. And I wouldn't change that too much anyways. It's just if you're over to the right behind the barrels, it steeply grades right into my house.
It's really like the foot and a half along the house is where it just all of a sudden just dips.
Yeah, you can see that.
You know, that's all we're really.
So it's Barrier Beach, it's coastal dune, it's 310 CMR 10.28, and so we know that that has to be meeting the performance standards and the flood zones, the wetland interests and values. So That, in addition to contemplating what to do, has got to be factored into this. That's why you're probably at an NOI.
I wonder if just stone over the same grade isn't really gonna help
That's
you.
what he wants.
I don't know if it will help you, though, with your,
Isn't that gonna
appearance.
just wash
Simple
away.
appearance.
wash down?
It's super ugly right now.
We reference you to chapter 505 hardening, and if we don't have
I
clearly
wouldn't consider
commanded.
it hardening if it's crushed stone.
Well, it is considered that, Bert, actually. It's in there. Yeah, it's in there. We did include it from Duxbury.
If it were erodible soil, erodible stone, like small, we would.
Like a pea stone?
Yeah, like you had cobbies.
3/4 inch
you know.
blue
That's
stone.
That's what we're proposing.
It's not gonna go anywhere. And it's gonna make it look a lot better. It's not gonna help with the grading or anything.
No, but it will help with parking, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they consider it a hardscape, but,
Well, you've read it, so you know.
yeah,
So-
I know.
Well, if it were erodible soil,
I-
erodible stone, would that be considered hard?
Look, whatever we do to be creative to help them out, but it's an NOI at the end of the day. That's really, because it doesn't meet the performance standards. Some of the stuff is pretty tough.
But if the NOI is tied to regrading and, doing a
Yeah, then
permanent
you need a
solution there.
surveyed plan, and you don't have the option for exempting the surveyed plan. So, if you exempted the surveyed plan and you figured out a way to use something that modeled erodible soils or stones, that's such as cobbies, not like gravel, okay? Cobbies would be erodible, yeah. So we'd run that by the right people to make sure that would work, but they tend to like that kind of stuff. It sounds ridiculous, but it's the difference.
I'd be willing to use whatever, whatever material is
It
recommended.
just seems to go against, like,
I thought the DEP spoke about crushed stone numerous times in their
I
presentation.
thought that in our regulations, it says anything that's hardening, it's over 500 square feet. I'm not looking at it right now, so I'm shooting blind.
So
You
we
got that one?
we do have specifics on hardened surfaces within VE and AO flood zones. There is no clear definition in the 505 regs of what constitutes a hardened surface. It does say whether it's pervious or impervious, but regards to erodible surfaces, we did talk about surfaces such as gravel and pea stone and seashell in the CZM presentation as surfaces that are erodible and preferable to things like pervious pavers.
Right.
So in regards to cobblestones versus gravel, I don't know if that's an issue. I guess it's more of whether the commission feels that this would alter the resource area here to cover it with gravel. And if it does, it requires an NOI. And if it doesn't alter the
Right.
area, then it doesn't need it.
And if it's not, if it's erodible, right, into clear convincing the commission, which, the cobbies, I would say definitely, you would have no question about it. They aren't gonna give you the support you want, that's the only problem, because they kind of blend in. That's the way they're supposed to work. They're all on the beach, and they protect it this way. So,
Define copies for me?
they're the round stones you see on the beach. Some people pick them up because they like them and
You're
stuff
talking
like
about
that.
large stones.
Well, they can get big, yeah. They can get big.
I don't think that's what they were asking for. You were asking for just small, like pea stones, similar to what you're doing in the driveway.
correct, just
Small diameter
3/4 inch
stone.
All right.
For
Like this.
appearances
So-
only.
This is one of the items, and that's got to be dealt with, because you've got the hardening, and yes, you have pervious, and typically I recommend using pervious materials where we can, but now we're on a beach, on a coastal dune, so change your performance standards. And we just got down the road from this, for what we thought was, going to be pervious materials, and we were told that it was per se not meeting the performance standards. So, it's our job to make you aware of this.
So, I see there's you have two problems here that you're trying to solve. One is the appearance, and another is that your house is taking on water during floods.
yeah, it's just the, like,
So-
4 or 5 feet up into the driveway, so we just, right now, we park our cars on that side, and we'll continue to do so anyways. I was just trying to make it look nicer.
So the question for me is, so it's not gonna really necessarily help the water, but the small stones like you're planning to use in the driveway, correct, if you brought those around?
Yeah, it's just
That would
gonna
really
fall
only
inside.
affect the appearance and not address the flooding, because that would be a whole nother.
Yeah.
But, and whether or not, then the question is does the addition of small stone constitute an alteration, for which we require an NOI, because we're dealing with coastal dune, so. that's, I think, what we need to weigh. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if, in 2 years from now, if they redo the decks, and you're gonna make other major alterations to the property, right? And at that point in time, you wanna also undertake addressing the water issue with a grading situation. You clearly need a notice of intent to do that, which means a little higher fees than the RDA's, an engineered drawing, some contours, there's more discrimination, and it's a better documentation of what you've done.
Right.
That is a total separate project, in my view,
Yes,
than
exactly.
this RDA that you're before us here now with. So to my view, for, I don't see just putting a 5 or 6 feet of gravel up that side, a thin coat is gonna affect the resource area, or it's gonna harden the surface. It's not gonna change the grade, it's just gonna give them a place to park their car.
And the regs might change by then too, so God only
So-
knows.
Just to Bill's point, I truly don't see, 3/4 crushed stone as being a hardened surface.
I don't either.
You know, I didn't until I read the 505 a couple times, and then you really, we have to take a look at it. I think it needs help, that part of the 505, Bert. That's what I
I mean,
think.
it's certainly erodible. My concern is that, all that stone is gonna wind up in, what is it, A Street there, or,
You're gonna be
That's
shoveling
why-
it back.
That's why we
you're gonna have to
had
push
added
it back, but.
the apron.
Right, the
I'm
skirt.
thinking that's gonna
Catch it.
hopefully hold it in.
And there's a grade change there that might hold the stone too. You've got
Right,
that
it
sort of
needs a little
elevated
bit
there with the
higher.
chairs, yeah. So that might sort of keep that in place. I mean, hard to know, but,
I mean, with respect to a coastal dune, if whatever is there moves and can act like a coastal dune,
I agree.
The
I mean, that's-
gravel will interlock and stick more, and then the
Yeah,
removals, so they'll move around.
You know what
I
goes
know
on in these
I know the
areas.
area very well, and
Yeah.
that stuff is gonna move around, and I don't think a little bit of stone on there is gonna affect anything.
No, I don't either.
It helps it, but I see this, I've been there, 8 years now or so, or a little more, and I've seen this all move around, and it's gonna continue to move.
Which means you have to shovel it back, so it's not a simple
That's-
solution.
I'm happy with
but-
shoveling it back.
But that is the
Looking
whole
at that.
idea, is that it to act like nature, and that way it's,
Right, and I don't want it going into the street and making a disaster either. I mean, we're spending money on putting the material in there. I want to keep it in there
keep it.
as best I can.
Commission could consider special conditions if we're worried about things getting compacted too much, about not using fines or binders and setting just a minimum diameter stone size.
Yep, good idea.
So I think, do people feel comfortable with all of that?
What's going on?
No, I'm just asking, what that suggestion that,
Yeah, I like that suggestion.
I am comfortable
all
with
right,
that.
so I'm gonna be able to move on. People are okay with that. Is there anyone from the public or on Zoom that would like to weigh in or have any comments? All right, well, seeing none, what I'd like to do is then we'll make a motion, make sure I get these determinations right, Eric, please. A +5 for the bylaw, and this is, and a -2 with special conditions that will determine the size of the stones, and
So.
would you like to add further with this?
Yeah, I guess, so stone size, if we could say a minimum diameter of 3/4 inch and no fines or binders included in that. And then also, we would want to note that regrading or removal of any of the existing natural sediment is not approved as part of this work. We're just talking about adding a layer of stone on top.
So you including the new, I mean, are you including beyond, yeah.
Just what, yeah, with the special conditions.
No
that- that
cross-section.
No,
Okay.
the size and no grade change.
All right, well, you got native there, I guess you don't need cross-sections.
All right, so
I
we
got
have
you.
a
Second,
second, all in favor?
Aye.
you got your gravel.
Thank you.
Call me, I'll help you move it.
I'd have a shovel here in 5 minutes.
Right, when the storm comes.
Once, not after.
Yeah, once,
I think
not,
that's on video.
not in perpetuity.
I'm calling you.
What's up?
There's so many coming now,
I know.
sorry.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just to, not, before we close it out, we can get a machine to spread it, right? Or do I have to do it right now?
Never ends.
That's a good question.
You didn't get an access plan on the dune or anything, maybe you need that, and then
Yeah.
require to tell them about the equipment that
I
they're
do have
gonna use.
kids, we can use them, but it would be a lot easier.
You gotta have some controls
Take
on
like
this
a
stuff.
Bobcat right over the driveway?
That's what I wanted to just
Just
go
over
up
the
back
driveway,
and just.
and just start there and just.
Drag it down.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't hear from neighbors. All
Okay?
right, so I think we've closed,
Yeah, we were done with that?
We're done.
We voted?
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your gravel.
Oh, we will. Better than all this dark garbage that's there now. Thank
See you later, take care.
You as well.
Okay, we are on to 11 Pershing Road. This is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 at 6:30 to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Stephen Marmod of Marshfield to determine whether the work and after-the-fact hot tub depicting on the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, and whether the area and/or work depicted on the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinances or bylaws of the town of Marshfield. And the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Okay, Eric, can you confirm taxes and fees?
Yes, those are confirmed.
All right, have we got a presenter for this?
Three.
Okay, please identify yourself and
My
proceed.
name's Steve Marmo, this is my wife Dawn Marmo, and Cole.
Hi, Cole. And do you want to just give us a brief description of what
Yeah, so
what you've done
we're
there?
kind of taken back by all this, so excuse us if we don't know some of these things. So we purchased a hot tub, and you had to get the hot tub delivered in order to get the electrical work done because it's hardwired in. And the gentleman that was pulling the permit for electricity, I guess opened a whole can of worms to where we're standing today. He was wondering why he wasn't getting the permit, so I decided to call, and I guess that's what brings us here today. So I just want to be
Okay,
able
so
to use
you
our
have
hot tub.
a hot tub in your backyard.
Yes.
And, Eric, can you comment on the circumstances here?
Yeah, so like Steve was saying, there was basically an electrical permit that got caught in floodplain review. The building commissioner referred it to the conservation department, and given that this was located in what's mapped as a coastal dune and a flood zone, I advised the applicant that an after-the-fact RDA would be appropriate, given that the hot tub installation had already occurred. And at the time, I was advised there was a hot tub on a 7.5 by 7.5 foot paver pad. There was also an old order of conditions on this property, SE 42 2096. At the time that I was meeting with Mr. Mamo, we didn't actually have that in the office because it was out for scanning, so we were able to track that down a few days later and actually determined that that permit is still open. That permit was for, I believe it was the initial construction of the house. So that would need to get closed out at some point. And when I was doing the site visit for the hot tub, I'll just give a picture
The
of
hot
it
tub is
here.
7x7.
7x7. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the hot tub here. That's the one in question. The work to be done, I believe, is still the electrical trenching, right?
Yeah, we haven't been able to use it.
Yeah. So I think the hot tub is fine with the RDA, and maybe there's a couple things going on here. The original site plan that was approved by the commission back in 2007, I believe, it shows the house and yard and backyard. So basically, most of the backyard is now covered in what's potentially a pervious paver, and the front area has been expanded to be completely paved, basically across the whole frontage here. So I think this RDA kind of did open up a can of worms, as Steve said, just because there's this old permit on the house, and it seems that some of this ground surfacing that's been done is not in accordance with the original plan, and those orders still need to get closed out. So I don't know if the commission wants to look at these things separately regarding the installation of the hot tub versus dealing with the extra surfaces that have been added since the last permit. The original orders did call for foundation walls with knockout panels. It seems like those knockout panels are installed in 4 locations along the foundation, from what I could see. I also see that Jay Wennemer, the former conservation agent, noted that the side yard was to be lawn, and that is what it currently is. So I think the only issues aside from the hot tub that are, present on the site are just the paving in the front and then the pervious patio in the back. And whether these two things need to be linked together or separated, I guess that's a commission decision.
Yeah. So we built the house in 2007. It was a cottage. Went through a year battle to get the house built. I got a phone call from Eric yesterday, addressing all of a sudden there's an issue with a 2007 driveway pavement and pavers on the back. So, that they will be addressed today. So, this has caused us, this whole family in an uproar. We're all nervous. We're all, it's like this has caused us so much anxiety over, a paved driveway that's from 2007. The street is paved. We don't go further than the paved street. I didn't know that you needed a permit for a pavement, paved driveway. We ask every time someone comes and does a little something for us if we need a permit. We call. The drainage has never been as good since we put the pavers on there in the backyard, because now it drains properly instead of having still water sitting there with mosquitoes and flies everywhere because of where we are. So we didn't know when we were just living our lives, paying our taxes, and we're trying to have a hot tub because we have family medical issues. And now this has been pushed off for over a month and a half because of a hot tub, a 7x7 hot tub. So, I don't know what else to do.
Okay, so just, are you pretty much finished?
Yes, sorry.
So you were owners of the house when you did the raise and rebuild in
Yes.
2007? So you went through the whole process of permitting and everything then?
Yes.
So-
Well, the company that we hired did it. The
Okay.
news of this not being,
Okay, so you weren't aware that you've got outstanding?
no, not until we started with this hot tub.
Well, my feeling, and I get an input from other commissioners, is I would like to approve the RDA for your hot tub, let you get your hot tub up and running, but also give you a deadline of whatever Bill and Eric would recommend, maybe 6 months or so, to come back to us to get the order of conditions closed out to finish up everything on your home and get that out of the way.
Okay, so how do I go about doing that? Because I thought they filed everything with the registry of deeds. Do I take a paper
So
down there?
he's telling you that it's a loose end that needs to be dealt with, so we can help you out with that, okay?
Okay.
In doing his work, Eric identified that, and I've had the same thing happen, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, but we'll work our way through it, and it looks like they're giving you 6 months to solve the secondary thing you discovered at the time you were going for your hot tub, so that's kind of what he's saying.
So meaning filing with the deed.
You're gonna work with us, and then we'll help you over the next 6 months.
Come back
to
and see the
address other
conservation
items.
department, but we'll get you through the RDA, you can get your hot tub up and running.
Thank you.
And I didn't want to speak for the whole commission,
No,
input from other commissioners?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Bert as well, and the reason you have to get the first permit closed out is if you do ever go to sell the house. You can't sell the house until you get that closed out. It'll be a situation that you'll have to, you could be, you would
Yeah,
have
I
been
was
surprised
shocked when I
about
heard
it
that.
as
I had
well.
no idea. I thought
Yeah.
the company, they don't exist anymore, Sandcastle? I don't know.
Yeah, so we want you soaking with your family in the hot tub.
Yeah,
as soon as
yeah.
possible. So we'll vote on that, as Bert says, and then take up the, getting the other permit cleaned up, so you have, everything is clear and clean. And
There's an
don't-
incentive for you too, if there's a lien on the house due to the old permit, okay, and that's the way it's done, like back in the 80s, it's got nothing to do with you or anybody, it's just the way it is, so you want to get that resolved, you know what I mean, so 6 months is a pretty good amount of time to resolve it.
And I wouldn't
Work with Bill and
feel
Eric.
badly about this. There's a lot of people that don't really understand the permitting process with Concom or building, and, people tend to think that it's my house, my property, I can do what I want, but that's not totally true at all, so don't feel bad about it.
Any comments from the public? I see none here in this room, I see nobody in Zoom. Based on that, I'd like to make a motion to,
Turn the page.
make a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a negative determination number 2. Have I got a second?
Second.
That'd be Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
So now we can, the electrician can get the permit?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bert, just to confirm, so we just want them to go forward with submitting the request for COC
Yes.
and get a new site plan with that to close out the original. Okay. I can send you an email with the details on
We have to get a new site plan?
We'll get to the details
Get you
later.
the
You're done
details.
for the permit you came for tonight. We'll help you secondarily, okay?
The site plan is very expensive, isn't it? I have a site plan on me from the original house. I mean, I don't,
You have to get it, you have to get a
Come in and see
drawing.
the conservation department, work with Eric, and I think we'll get through this, but
thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy the hot tub.
We'll all be over.
Okay,
Um,
6 months.
I am recusing on the next hearing.
Madam Chair, we got a note from the representative on the next hearing that they are currently in a meeting in Plimpton at the same time here
Okay.
on Zoom, so they asked to be moved.
I'm
Oh,
here, Eric.
He's back, never mind.
Sorry. Thanks. Thanks for covering
Scratch
for me,
that.
though.
No problem, Brad.
Horseshoe Drive, what the heck is that?
in accordance with the regulations, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held for Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, for consideration for the request for determination of applicability filed by Gresham Webb, 57 Marshfield Drive, Marshfield, to determine whether the work deck depicted on the plan is subject to Wetlands Protection Act, and whether the area or work depicted on the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinance or bylaws, Town of Marshfield, at 57 Marshfield Drive, Marshfield. And Art will be the hearing officer.
Very good, thanks, Bert. Taxes have been paid?
Yes, those are
Okay,
confirmed.
very good. Someone here to present this project?
Yes, thank
Brad?
you very much, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR here for this RDA application. We filed an application on behalf of Gretchen Webb for her property here at 57 Marshview. The property contains as you can see in this aerial image, single-family home with driveway and maintained lawn. Along the north side of the site is a salt marsh that leads to a tidal inlet, and we also have land subject to coastal storm flowage that comes into the site. So what we're asking the commission to confirm with us that our proposal for a small deck at the rear of the house that occurs partially over an existing walkway and over the yard area does not require the filing of a notice of intent and proceed under an RDA. The deck is approximately 343 square feet. It occurs about 25 feet away from the salt marsh. It doesn't occur within the flood zone, and it will be pile supported, and it's more of a kind of minor activity that occurs within a previously maintained yard. And we're hoping that the commission will agree and that they can continue with the proposal to construct a deck. So I'll open up to your questions.
I did not have any problems on this one. Eric, you want to make some comments?
Sure. So, as far as setbacks go here, I don't think we have any issue. The lot was developed prior to 2002, so structure is allowed down to the 25. As Brad mentioned, this is a pretty minor project, just a deck in the back here. One thing we did note while reviewing this was that this is potentially within riverfront, just by the regulatory definition of where riverfront starts based on mean high water. Since this was not a surveyed plan, they don't have exact details as to the topography and where that is. This is right next to the South River, I believe it is. And it's over 300 feet away from the bank, but it's potentially within 200 feet of the river. So when we were talking to Brad and Cameron at ECR, basically what they were saying is that they didn't want to depict riverfront on this map because they didn't have, precise accuracy with regards to the topography of the site. So I think that the commission is just looking at the work here and not the wetland boundary, and that was one of the points that Cameron raised. But the commission should know that there is potentially riverfront on part of this property as it's defined in the regulations under the state and under the town bylaw. Aside from that, I talked to the homeowners when I was out there at the site. They just moved in recently. They mentioned the prior owner had dropped some brush and dragged some stuff through the marsh over to the side. There was one area of Phragmites that was a little trampled. I don't think there was anything major, but it might be worth putting in conservation markers, maybe 2 on each side of the existing lawn, just to demarcate the no-touch zone of the marsh in the back there. But aside from that, I don't think there's any issues with this that I noted.
Any other?
Sorry,
Bill?
I think another thing is, because it's in riverfront, which is not defined here, you've also got an alternative to consider as well. So, this could be the best spot for it, maybe not, but the future projects might come up, like the whole house might change or move around or something. So with all these sites, you have to kind of make sure that we have the correct reference that we have, that riverfront was not picked up on this, and it probably should be in the future for future projects, because something might completely change if somebody sells the house.
We have asked the commission, as part of the RDA, not to confirm resource areas. We didn't ask to check the box on that.
Yeah.
We're just asking the commission to confirm that the work, being the construction of the deck, doesn't require a filing of a notice of intent. So I think it does leave that open, that we're not locking in resource areas in the future. Anything more significant would have to have a more engineered surveyed plan. One aspect towards the riverfront was that we're in agreement with Bill and Eric that there is a tidal creek in the salt marsh, and we didn't nail down the exact location. It appears visually to be pretty far away, but the deck is actually a minor exempt activity within the riverfront area. So, on this project, I don't think it needs to, we didn't need to specifically lock it down, because it's covered in any event, even if it were to be within as an exempt minor activity.
Thanks, Brad. Any other commissioners?
Do we put a special condition in that says we did not define the resource areas, which may include?
Well, I do think we should add the special condition 4 with the conservation markers. Joe?
Joe's point
State
means
your point is good. Say that again.
he wants 2B is what he wants. 2B is the one that does not confirm the resource areas. So they didn't call for that, but the commission wants to put it in.
So
Now,
we're just calling it out.
yeah, but Brad might be challenging it, so you might have to put it in under, I don't know how to do this, maybe under 3 as a special condition, just as a note that the resource areas are, are not defined. Riverfront is present and buffer zone to wetlands is present, so you cover it as a note.
No, it would be fine.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. Brad, you fine?
Fine, yes, we're not asking for confirmation, so I think if you wanted to note it, that the determination doesn't confirm resource areas, just the work, I think that covers everyone.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other commissioners? Anyone from the audience? Zoom? Otherwise? Okay.
We're calling out the exemptions too. 10.58,
I'm not so sure the uses accessory to residential structures applies here, because that would be outside the 50, and we're at the 25 of the salt marsh, so I don't think we can give the -5, but
So I was thinking of-
-3 could apply.
I was thinking of 10.586, which carries you back to, I think, 10.2B1, I believe, which is the whole thing. And so, let's not get tricky with that, Brad, today. I'm gonna let that go.
Okay, I heard nothing there, so I'm gonna make a motion that we vote to issue a positive determination 5 for the bylaw. Now the negative determination 3 for the special conditions still stands, correct?
Correct.
And we have 4 special conditions and a note.
Correct.
Okay. Well, do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay. 27 Old Beach Road. This is a new NOI. I will read the legal notice. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 at 6:30 to consider the after-the-fact notice of intent filed by Christopher Shaw, 27 Old Beach Road, for the after-the-fact construction of a fire pit, 2 wooden walkways, outdoor shower, closed changing enclosure, and expanding stone driveway within Barrier Beach Coastal Dune, and land subject to coastal storm flowage at 27 Old Beach Road, Marshfield. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Eric, can you confirm administrative requirements?
Yes, those are all set.
We did get a DEP number?
We did get a DEP
Okay,
number.
all right, great, thank you. Okay, so as we know, this is an NOI for an after-the-fact activities for a new property owner who purchased the home, and they needed to close out the order of conditions, and some after-the-fact activities were found that were not in the original site plan. Eric, would you like to make any comments about this?
Yeah, just briefly, I guess, like you said, this is just to cover the stuff that was noted during the COC review for an older permit on this property. You know, taking a look at the site, I think they have pretty good vegetation present along the boundary of the yard. Looks like Rick noted that there was 643 total square feet of coverage that's being addressed by this after the fact. So I think, you know, this is somewhat administrative and just closing out that old order of conditions. So, I mean, unless the commission wants to add additional mitigation or require any changes to some of these structures, I would think that, you know, just issuing standard order of conditions here, getting the things recorded, and then having them come back with COC request to close this out for good, that would be sufficient.
I do see Rick is on the call. Rick, did you want to make any comments regarding this? Rick was representing him.
Excuse me. I think that covers it pretty well. I know you're familiar with this project that we reviewed a few weeks back, and yeah, this is the formal filing by the current owner, Christopher Shaw, just to address those unpermitted activities which I've quantified and shown on the plan for the existing conditions. And as Eric stated, we just want to make it official and get it recorded and get it closed out for good here. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, Rick. Do we have any comments for other commissioners?
I just like to say I'm the homeowner, Christopher Shaw.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
know.
it's all right. I just want to say we've been working with the former owner to get this
Yes, I
issue squared
recall
away,
that
so
from the meeting.
all good from my end. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I didn't call on you. Commissioner comments? Anybody from the audience, anyone else, or anybody on Zoom that would like to comment? Seeing none, then I would make a motion to close the hearing we were going to add some special conditions we were talking about with standard conditions, but perhaps in the special conditions address the native plantings that are bordering the property, that they be maintained and not changed.
So add a special condition to...
Yes, we had talked about that the really nice beach grasses and the Rosa rugosa, particularly on the seaward side, if you maintain that, that would be, yeah, it looks immaculate, actually. Beautiful property.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so.
All cleaned up?
Do you have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Okay. We are on to 14 East Street. This,
Boy, Art just can't sit still tonight.
He's getting his exercise.
jumping in.
He's getting in his steps.
Yeah.
This is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, to consider the after-the-fact notice of intent filed by Arthur Loggy for after-the-fact permitting for the resurfacing of gravel parking areas with pavers and shells, stairs, a generator stand, and a retaining wall within riverfront Barrier Beach coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage AE 16 and buffer zone to salt marsh at 14 East Street, Marshfield. And the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Hey, Eric, can you control from the East Gate, taxis, and butters?
Those are all confirmed, yes.
Okay. And is Mr. Savant is presenting?
Yes, Rick Savant with Stenbeck and Taylor.
Okay,
For the applicant.
You can hear us okay, Rick?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I know you're all familiar with this site. This filing is to address some unpermitted activities that occurred on the site. I tried to highlight them clearly on the plan. I think the most significant of them is the paver driveway on the west side of the site. There are 1,050 square feet of pavers that were installed over an existing gravel driveway that was there. Secondly, we have the stairway and retaining wall at the head of that same driveway was reconstructed during the course of construction of the deck and the sunroom. That's some damage done to that, so that was rebuilt, and its current condition is shown on the size and position is shown on the plan there. Also, the generator that we mentioned, there was a standby generator placed in the rear of the yard that's currently sitting on the ground, highlighted in red there. That generator, I've been working with the building department, not only needs approval through the commission, but it also needs to be elevated to meet the flood standards. It's going to be elevated on that same platform that we reviewed earlier tonight that the building commissioner had supplied. That wooden platform is going to be about 1.5 feet off the ground to make it comply with the AE 12 flood requirements. Currently sitting on the ground at elevation 12. It has to be the base elevation plus a foot, so it will have to be elevated about 1.5 feet. Also, there was a block retaining wall that was installed along the easterly and northeasterly side property lines. It's about 76 feet long. It's 1 foot wide. It's made out of precast concrete block. It's existing on the site. It's doing a pretty good job of retaining the yard there. It's kind of grown into the landscape already. Lastly, that other driveway on the east side of the house was a gravel driveway that was resurfaced with shells, crushed shells, about 640 square feet of shells cover that area. I know there's some beach fencing and things that I think we're going to discuss also, but that are not shown on this plan, but those are the items that I'm aware of on the site that need to be addressed as part of this after the fact filing.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
I'll answer any questions you might have, or do the best I can.
Okay, we'll let Eric give his comments.
Sure, so yeah, as Rick stated, this is really just to clean up some activities that hadn't been explicitly permitted in the past. This work spans a long time, having spoke with the homeowner about it and looked at historical aerials and also some old site plans that the commission have reviewed over the years. This work seems to date back even to the previous owner, back to 2006, some of it. The retaining wall, I think, was around 2016. when we're talking about the paver driveway that was paved over there, this was reviewed by the commission when a certificate of compliance was issued for SE 422517. That was on the as-built site plan that was provided at the time. I don't think it was explicitly called out. I wasn't there at the time, but it was not mentioned in the minutes. You know, I think that a paver driveway in this environment might be something the commission wouldn't necessarily want to promote currently, having recent feedback from CZM and DEP about this kind of thing. But historically, I think it has something that the commission would have permitted. The next door neighbor has a nearly identical paver driveway that was permitted and also approved by the commission recently for a certificate of compliance. So I don't note any major issues with the paver driveways. You know, looking back at Google imagery from 2005, it appears this area was even previously paved at some point. So I don't think the driveways are too big of an issue, particularly the easterly side one, which is a shell covered area and an erodible surface that I think the commission is looking to promote. Aside from that, we have the generator stand that Rick mentioned. Rick, are you guys going to be using the diamond pier footings that we talked about?
Yes, the same diagram that was provided to me by the building department that you showed earlier tonight.
Okay. So aside from that, I think the only items really left to be explicitly addressed are the block retaining wall, and this was something that was not shown on the as-built site plan, so I think it's from the previous filing, so I think it's important to get here. And also Rick mentioned the fence that's on, it's not shown on the site plan because it's actually on a parcel of accreted land towards the river. It's a snow fencing type of fence that you would typically see on a dune. There's specific language in 310 CMR 10.28 regarding snow fencing. It's 10.285B, which specifically permits fencing on coastal dunes that increases dune development. And it appears that the dunes have been developing nicely over there. The homeowner mentioned that it has made a difference over the past years. So while it's not explicitly called out on this site plan, I think the commission might want to just include a condition that it's allowed to remain. I know there's potential questions about the ownership of the land just because it's accreted land and it's a complicated issue at land court. So that's why, you know, in conversations with Rick, he told me that was not included on a site plan here because there's no definitive property lines. And Rick, feel free to step in if I'm saying something incorrectly. But I think that, you know, if the fence is an issue that the commission is considering, you could consider including a condition that the fence can remain unless any information arises out of land court saying that it's not owned by the homeowner here. So I think we have, you know, a cleanup of some items that have not been explicitly permitted. The main thing that has gone unnoticed previously is the retaining wall, and all of these other items have been to some form or another reviewed during, you know, ancillary reviews of other permits at this property. There's also a nicely vegetated dune area in the back. I believe this was done at the request of the previous conservation agent, although I would not 100% certain about that. One thing that the homeowner noted to me was that there is an issue with invasives creeping into that area. He requested ongoing conditions of hand maintenance of invasive species in that area, and I think that would be a good thing to do to promote the natural vegetation back there and keep it healthy. And it's a condition that we've included in many other permits, so I think it would be pretty applicable here. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't know if Bill has anything additional. Or...
Yeah, on the hand removal, he had already previously consulted with a qualified wetland scientist, and he had a de minimis activity at the time. I told him to stop all activities, and he abided by that. So putting this back in there would probably be a good idea. You know, he's expressed it. There's some good permeability. The neighbor and he have the similar driveway. So this was before the current revised regs on March 18th. So keep that in mind. It's a different situation. And I think this cleans up a lot of the concerns that have been brought to the attention of the commission and to the conservation staff.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Eric. So as far as the generator, based on our earlier
yes,
determination tonight, that'll be brought into compliance. So the generator should be fine from my
It
standpoint.
basically becomes de minimis, exactly what the commissioner, building commissioner wants.
As far as the driveways, looking back historically, there's been driveways, parking spaces in those locations, going back into the 90s. I happened to look at the GIS from 2005, and it appears like they were asphalt driveways at that time, so it's an improved situation from what it was. We've also approved conditions and approved an RDA, you know, with those existing conditions, and there were no comments from conservation at that time about either of those structures. As far as the retaining wall, I'm not sure if it was ever noted before, but in this particular situation now, I think to do anything with it would risk undermining mature trees in that location. So my feeling is that can remain. And then to back up Eric's comment on the naturally revegetated area, you know, when you look back at 2005, that was all turf lawn back then, so now it's been converted to all natural plants and the conservation posts. So I feel that this is good to go. Comments from other commissioners?
No, great,
I
totally
think
agree.
it's, yeah. Fine with it.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to comments from the public. I see nobody here. Is there anybody on Zoom? I hear none. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing, and Eric, okay, I'm sorry, special conditions as far as managing the invasives, I'm good with that, and I didn't mention the snow fencing. I agree with you on that, pending any further ruling on ownership, as far as from a conservation standpoint, the snow fencing is doing its job.
Also, the conservation posts will be, remain in perpetuity. He's already complied with that, but we'll get it on this record for completeness.
Okay, and any other conditions?
No, aside from that, it would just be standard conditions here.
Okay, I made a motion. Have I got a second?
Second?
Susan?
Second is Susan. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, we are on to 815 Ocean Street. This is a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 139, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, to consider the notice of intent filed by Thomas and Nancy Corbo to raise and rebuild of a single-family home within Barrier Beach coastal zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage at 815 Ocean Street, Marshfield. And the hearing, excuse me, the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen. Oh, I'm sorry. The hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. Eric, can you confirm DEP, abutters, and
Yep, all the administrative
date.
requirements are good.
and I see Mr. McGovern here?
For the record, Karen McGovern from Steinbeck and Taylor, and with me is Mr. Corbo, who is proposing the house. This site is the location of, I think of it as the former Daily Catch restaurant, and something's telling me it was a sub shop briefly. The name of it escapes me, but for a few years it was Checkable.
Bless you.
On 815 Ocean Street. So it's been a commercial / business site as a restaurant for decades, really, and been vacant for the last several years. Much of the site is paved and has been, again, for decades. And what Mr. Corbo is proposing to do is to demolish the existing building, removing the foundation, any footings that are there, removing all of the pavement on the site, and constructing a new single-family home on a combination of driven wood pilings for the main structure of the house, and in the area of where the deck or porch decks and steps are, and those will be supported on helical piers, as well as the enclosed garage area, because it will have a slab, which we've noted on our plan, rather than footings in that location, as you might have for a garage slab with a wall enclosing it. You'll have a system of helical piers underneath that with enclosed walls containing flood vent openings around the garage so that it meets the flood requirements. We are located in an AE9 flood zone. We've proposed the first floor elevation at 12, which means the bottom of the grade beam will be at 11. Existing grade in the area runs 7.5 to 8. It's an extremely level lot. And we're removing just a little less than 5,700 square feet of impervious area, all of which is the pavement. Mr. Corbel would like to leave one paved driveway access from Ocean Street, and we're obviously considering the garage area as a slab. And the remaining area will be open underneath, not enclosed in any way, perhaps other than some decorative trellis, but be open for flood waters to pass through and to receive and to absorb water, which is a considerable improvement over pretty much an entire paved surface in that location. You've now got a brand new set of plans from Rockwood Design that show the correct support system, which includes the wood pilings and the helical piers. We had caught a couple of sonotube footings and asked Dick to change that, so we had that changed and got those to us so that we could forward them to the commission. And that's basically it in that location. I believe everything is fully in compliance with requirements of Article 5 and wetland regulations. And Thomas had conversations both with Bill and Eric over the last week or two regarding the structural aspect of this.
Looks a little like a fire station to me.
Thank you, Terry. Eric, comments?
Couldn't resist, Tom.
Yeah, just quick comments, I guess. I think overall, we're looking at a positive improvement on the site right now. It's basically just a concrete slab, so I think the removal of all that impervious surface and elevation of a new structure there is a good thing. The main thing I think we had been waiting on till today was the final detail on the piles and what was going in there. We had previously noted the footings on those sonotubes, so it was good to see that those were removed and replaced with helical piles. I don't really have too much other than that. I mean, Terry already addressed that they're going to leave one section of paved driveway. I guess we would just probably want to note that any additional servicing would just require conservation review beyond what's approved on this plan. And aside from that, we would just want to see the piles as depicted on that architectural plan used. So the wooden driven piles and then the helicals for the garage and deck. I didn't have anything else on this one from my side.
So I talked to Mr. Corbo, and he had told me this is coming, and I said probably by Friday, 12 noon, the commission might require a new plan, and he stepped up and he got it to you sooner. So I don't think that's got anything to do with any of our deadlines. He beat the deadline that you would have normally asked, for the record.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward. Do we want to note what's the ground covering under the house at this time so that it's on the record and
Typically, you either just provide crushed stone or gravel. You know, obviously a pervious surface.
We're on the special conditions under the construction and on the ongoing. We've got any additional ground surfaces, whether pervious or impervious, that are not included on the approved site plan shall require conservation review. So you're covered on two fronts there.
okay. And actually, this is a question for you, Terry, where you did the surveying there, that paved area to the to the side of the garage that's off this lot.
It's on town land.
It's town
It's
land.
actually a little piece of town land there.
And that's paved, right?
Yeah. We can't show that, well, Tom would like to probably make it go away. We can't officially show it as being removed. We can't really comment on it. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
over.
it's not conservation land, so I don't think we can really comment on it either. It's besides that, it all looks good. So you're satisfied we can specify what's gonna be?
Yeah, I think that's what we try to do. Eric and I have been working on these conditions, and we're trying to get something in there constantly so that it requires a return to the commission. So I feel like that's in there based on that. However, things like lattice down below, the actual materials down below, if it's a concern, the commission has this time now to footprint that even further. But we've created a general footprint for you.
I'm good. Like to open it up to the other commissioners?
Good.
No comment?
Very straightforward. It's
Like
gonna
to
be-
open it up to the public? Anybody like to comment on this project? I see nobody in the audience. Any special conditions, Eric?
Do we want to specify the pile type to be used in the special conditions, just to make it crystal clear, or do you want to just reference the architectural plan?
Well, it's on the plan.
It's on the plan.
Yeah, it's on the plan.
So kill that one, Eric.
Yeah, so aside from that, we would just have the condition that Bill mentioned about conservation review for any additional surfacing, and that just standard conditions aside from that.
Very good.
Do we do conservation markers?
There's
no place to
I
put
don't
them.
think there is any place.
It's a flood zone in
Yeah.
Barrier Beach, but there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Always a good
And I think it
question.
goes right up to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We always ask. Would you like to put up a couple? Forget it, it's all right.
I'd like to
Somebody
condition,
carry 'em around the house,
I'd like to recommend that we condition a fire pole internally in the building.
So I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Have I got a second?
Second.
Second is Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Hanlon's continued here on Preston Terrace.
Right, 72 Bay Avenue. Do we need to?
I think you need to vote it, don't you? Yeah, if you haven't
Continue.
voted it, don't.
72 Bay Avenue, SE 422754 amended. We received a request for a continuation. Did they put a date on that?
Rick is on there, he could confirm, but we had talked about the 21st. It wasn't confirmed in writing, but he did confirm that he wanted it moved.
Rick Stenbeck? Rick Servant?
He's on mute.
Are you there, Rick?
Well, you can move it out one, that's for sure.
His request was in response to my email asking if he would confirm in writing if he still wanted to confirm till the 21st, so continue to the 21st.
Okay, so I move that we vote to continue SE 422754 to December 21st, 2021. May I have a second?
Second.
Art.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Preston Terrace, this is a continued hearing. There is no need to read the legal ad, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Carberry.
Okay, thank you. Taxes, abutters, DEP number is all in good order?
They are all in good order.
Okay, thank you, Eric. So this is a new NOI for a pier, a dock, gangway, and a float on Preston Terrace, which is over up on, just beyond the bridgeway, downriver from the bridgeway, for Jerry and Jan Martin. Morse Engineering has been doing the work. This is a land subject to coastal storm flowage, a salt marsh, tidal flats, coastal beach, and the land with shellfish in an AE10 zone. Who is Greg going to present the project?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering. With me also on the Zoom call tonight is attorney Adam Brodsky on behalf of the property owner. I believe the property owner, Terry Martin, is likely in the room with you this evening.
Yes, he is.
Yep. As was just read into the record, this is a notice of intent associated with a new dock to be constructed at Mr. Martin's property at 70 Preston Terrace. Up on the screen here before you is a layout that we put together on the plan. What it depicts a new 181-foot-long wooden pier, which would extend out from the Paper Street portion of Ferry Street out to the South River being on the right-hand side of the plan view that you see here. The resource areas that we're dealing with, again, are land subject to coastal storm flowage. This is in a FEMA flood zone at elevation AE10. We have a salt marsh, which is depicted in blue on this site plan. Extending off of the salt marsh, highlighted in red, is the 50-foot setback. Highlighted in green is the 100-foot setback from the salt marsh. The South River itself, being a tidal river, the mean annual high water is determined by elevation. That elevation corresponds with elevation 4.2 on the plan. The entire project would be located in the riverfront area associated with the South River. The dock that we've laid out here, you can see the dock extending from the Ferry Street portion on the left-hand side of the page out into the water. It's a wooden structure. It's 4 feet wide. It's 180 feet long. Off the end of the pier would be a 30-foot long structural aluminum gangway, and at the end of the gangway would be a 10-foot by 20-foot float. This entire project was designed in accordance with the Marshfield Conservation requirements for a dock, specifically including that the area of the float not be more than 200 square feet, that the system be 5 feet above the mean annual high water, that it be 5 feet above the salt marsh, and there that be a minimum, I believe it's 2.5 feet of water underneath the float. We did conduct a site visit with the conservation agent, the building inspector. I think there were 2 members of the commission there, as well as the harbor master. We reviewed the location in the field. We reviewed the depth of the water. There was an excess of 40 inches of water during a low tide event, a 0.0 tide event at this location. Since that site visit, I've had correspondence with the agent regarding essentially 3 conditions that we'd be looking at incorporating in this, and my client agrees to all 3 of those conditions. One would be the payment of a shellfish mitigation fee, which we calculated and provided that amount to the agent. Second, that in proximity to the proposed dock, there is a float out on the South River that is issued by the harbor master through a section 10A permit on an annual basis. We have talked to the owner of that float, and while we don't think that the float is close enough to warrant an issue with this dock, my client has agreed that in the event that it is too close, that he would pay for the movement of that float to a new mutually agreed upon location with the harbor master and the owner of that float. So I believe we've addressed the comments that have been raised thus far by the agent and the harbor master. I would add that we did take this project to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we were issued unanimous approval with the ZBA. So I turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Greg, I'd just like to compliment you and the Morse Engineering team for an exquisitely professional and complete job. The only thing we were missing were some markers in the river, where there was obviously on the outbound side of the float plenty of water. And we did make one of the young Morse engineers wade in, and we did measure the depth of the water on the inland parts of the float. So everything you said is in compliance. The Everything is documented very well on the drawings and in the narrative and in the documentation. The float size, meets the requirements as well. The harbor master had no issues. There's no navigational issues or safety issues. You talked about shellfish. Harbor master did request that if possible, a 3-foot by 3-foot no wake sign be posted to help with the racers in the river going by your dock and making your float bounce up and down, which would be great if you could accommodate, but that's not a requirement. That 10A permit on that floating dock that's upriver slightly, I don't know who is the assigned owner of that particular float, but it sounds like you've resolved that as well. The only other issue is the new bylaws require that there's no piles in the river anymore, which has kind of been long the standard for most secure means of attaching floats, especially in rivers where there's a fair amount of current. We're not supposed to be prescriptive in this regard. I mean, that's really the job of the engineering company. So I would imagine you'll find another secure way to make sure that float stays in place in that location in the river. So I think it's a solid project, checks all the boxes as far as I can tell. Conservation administrators, Bill and Eric, do you have further comments?
Not too much in addition to what you've already said. We did get the letter from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program saying that they were not considering this a take. We got the letter from DMF with some usual comments regarding minimizing the placement of piles in the marsh, appropriate techniques to contain construction debris, and stage barge work during high tide to avoid grounding. I think those are things that we would normally include in our conditions anyway. So yeah, nothing else from my end. I guess in terms of special conditions, we would want to add the things that Greg mentioned, getting that shellfish mitigation paid in the amount that they calculated to the harbor master before construction, and then just including a note about paying to move the float if necessary, deemed necessary, in coordination with the harbor master. But aside from that, I don't have anything.
So I've got a couple. So on the DO dock construction notes, we always have waterways projects 34-7G fee applies. Harbor master will be the overseer of any applicable fees. We talked about that. We don't want to be the caretaker of the funds. The comments that Eric just put in about the float and any possible need to move it can go there on the front end. Want to add in the shellfish mitigation under the before commencing the proposed work. Mike has called us a couple times about other projects where he doesn't get the shellfish mitigation actually paid, even though it's acknowledged, so that we'll want to have that in the front end. The typical DO construction of the proposed work, and then add in under the ongoing conditions, let's see, the following: no grounding of floats or boats on tidal flats or river bottom, no prop wash of riverbed, no storing of fuel on dock, no fuel of vessels from dock, that's all standard. No dragging the float across the salt marsh, native beach grass and vegetation for storage, maintenance, storage or maintenance reasons. Storing or performing maintenance is permitted above mean high water when salt marsh, native grass, and vegetation is dormant from November 15th through April 1st. No chemical spraying in the resource area. Periodic maintenance of floats and pilings, securing systems to assure alignment within approved scope of these orders. Repair for safety reasons within the approved scope of these orders. Option to post a permanent no wake and river sign on the end of the pier facing the river. And then the one that's been tricky that we really should talk about is the one you and I have talked about, Rick, and I want to throw that at the commissioners. The length of the seaward face of the float is a limiting factor to the number of vessels allowed to remain in the float. That's a new one. Something to think about, because we have some docks coming up where they're trying to have 2 people run their docks. So if this isn't applicable, I understand because it's so tight, but it's something that has to be thought about. So I just want to throw that one out there. It's kind of a new one. And we can drop it here. We don't necessarily need it. I don't think it's an issue. It's very tight quarters out there.
I don't see it as an issue.
So I just wanted to get those out there so that they would be concluded.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments, considerations? Bert?
No,
That
meets
maritime background of yours?
Meets all the requirements.
Okay. Joe?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody in the public? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Going to make a motion that we close the hearing with the special conditions as Eric and Bill have shared with us. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, nice job, Greg.
Well done.
Thank you.
Nobody does it like Greg Morse does at Morse Engineering. It's a pleasure, really.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Who's your second on that, Rick? Sorry.
It was Joe.
Take care, Mr. Moore.
Joe.
Joe, okay, very good.
Okay.
So you got to continue this one
We
here.
have a final continuation, which is 62 Marginal Street, SE 422954. I move that we vote to continue this to, did they ask for a date?
12/21, yeah.
12/21/21.
12/21.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Okay. So now we are on to requests for certificates of compliance. We have 5 closures that I think are all the result of the campaign to chase down these open items.
We refer to it as the initiative.
The initiative. Okay. So, SE 42-1099, 59 Eustis Street. The original COC was never signed by the commission. A COC for SE 42-1566 was subsequently issued for this property at a later date. Therefore, the commission simply needs to close out SE 42-1099 orders of conditions with a certificate of compliance signed by the current commission. So I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-1099. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 42-1205, no work, there's no address on here, but no work was ever completed. Therefore, the commission simply needs to close out the orders of conditions with a COC signed by the current commission. I move that we vote to issue an incomplete COC for SE 42-1205. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 72 Nantasket Street, just for the record.
Okay, 72 Nantasket. SE 42-1224 at 105 Quincy Ave. As per a 1998 memo, the only item outstanding was the confirmation that lawn was reestablished. Agent Flint confirmed this was complete on December 1st, 2021. Therefore, the commission simply needs to close out the orders of conditions with a COC signed by the current commission. I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-1224. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. SE 42-1658, 29 Farragut Road. The original COC was never signed, but the requirement for elevation certification was fulfilled on July 6, 2011. Therefore, we simply need to close out the orders of conditions with a COC signed by the commission. I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-1224. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And SE 42-1821, 23 MacArthur Lane. A request for a COC was filed and the site visit was completed, but the homeowner withdrew the request thinking it was no longer required as he decided not to refinance. Therefore, this commission simply needs to close out the orders of conditions with a COC signed by the current commission. I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-1821. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 42-2510 at 6 Seth Sprague Drive. The only pending requirement was the installation of downspouts and reestablishment of lawn. Agent Flint confirmed these items were completed on November 23rd, 2021. A split rail fence runs along the 50-foot setback and is marked with red and white conservation markers as required by the orders of conditions. Agent Flint recommends issuing a complete COC with ongoing conditions signed by this commission. I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 422510 with the ongoing condition that there shall be no disturbance closer than the 50-foot setback from the wetlands, and that the conservation markers placed along this line shall remain in perpetuity. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
And then Craig, just for the record, we didn't have an as-built with the conservation markers because this is before the time that we actually did this. Otherwise, we would work it in. Yeah.
Okay, noted. All right, that's the end of the COC initiative. COCs, now the normals. SE 422871 at 4 Newport Street. This was issued in 2020 for revetment wall repair. The applicant's representative provided an as-built site plan and letter stating that the work was completed in accordance with the orders of conditions. Agent Flint confirmed the existing conditions matched the as-built on December 1st, 2021. I move that we vote to issue a complete certificate of compliance for SE 422871 with standard ongoing conditions for revetment wall maintenance in accordance with the special conditions of SE 422871 and as-built site plan dated 11/22/20. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 422882 at 856 South River Street. This was issued in 2020 for the construction of a garage. The letter provided by the applicant's representative states that the work has been completed in accordance with the orders of conditions and notes that the existing greenhouse was relocated further into the rear yard and that 2 egress stairs were added to the rear decks outside of the 50-foot. The small greenhouse is shown as fully within the 25% buffer to the wetlands on the as-built. It is depicted as a shed on the plan for the original notice of intent, which had been located further up in the yard between the 25 and 50-foot setback. Agent Flint visited the site on November 23rd, 2021. The small greenhouse is resting on a wooden frame with 4 concrete blocks on the corners and is located at the back of a manicured lawn, which is separated from the wetland by a chain link fence. Mr. Flint did not feel that the greenhouse would create a significant adverse impact on the wetlands given the limit of existing lawn. However, the commission could require that the structure be moved if it deems fit.
This is the structure up here.
Oh, cool.
Anyone have an issue with that in its current location? If there is no issue with that, I move that we vote to issue a complete certificate of compliance for SE 422882 with ongoing conditions that the footprint of the undeveloped subsurface remain open. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That completes our business, so I move that we close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of December 7th, 2021. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thought everybody wanted to stay.